Matteo's life appeared exceptionally vibrant, unlike many others. Luck seemed to accompany him in every aspect. He enjoyed the privilege of a large, tight-knit family, who celebrated every occasion with exuberance and opulence, a luxury not accessible to everyone. His educational journey unfolded precisely as he had hoped, and he found himself surrounded by friends from a tender age. As he entered the workforce, fortune continued to smile upon him, securing a position in a commendable company with generous remuneration and a harmonious team. However, his greatest stroke of luck came in the form of his wife, Isabel. From their initial encounters, she was a captivating presence, a bride to envy, possessing beauty, intellect, and grace. A talented dancer and a beacon of kindness and cheerfulness, she blossomed into a remarkable woman, making every moment with her a cherished blessing for Matteo.Matteo's efforts to captivate Isabel's heart were relentless. Each encounter saw him presenting her with a single flower, accompanied by a meticulously crafted card bearing words of admiration. His expressions were as poetic as they were sincere, likening her to the allure of a rose's bloom and the magnetic pull of a flower on a bee. Throughout their school days, he penned verses extolling her virtues, equating her to divine muses and goddesses who had inspired mortals for eons. As their circumstances improved, so did Matteo's gestures of affection. Bouquets and gifts adorned with heartfelt poetry became commonplace, his declarations of love likening her radiance to the brilliance of stars. Isabel, enamored by these romantic gestures, cherished Matteo deeply for his unwavering devotion. Their union, however, stirred envy and heartache among others who vied for Isabel's affections. Through the trials of academia and the challenges of their professional lives, Matteo and Isabel stood united, their bond growing stronger with each passing year. When Matteo finally summoned the courage to propose, he fretted over Isabel's response, fearing she might seek a more affluent or attractive partner. Despite meticulously planning a romantic evening, complete with a waterfront proposal under a dazzling fireworks display, his nerves betrayed him. In the luminance of Isabel's eyes reflecting the night sky's brilliance, he lost himself entirely, forgetting the rehearsed words and the traditional gesture of kneeling, consumed by the significance of the moment. "Will you marry me?" he exhaled, capturing the gaze of her bottomless, dark eyes brimming with overwhelming happiness. Without a moment's hesitation, she agreed, her joy overshadowing any notice of his omission to kneel. For her, the essence lay in his heartfelt question, one she had yearned for endlessly. Matteo's elation knew no bounds. Isabel had chosen him. Their union culminated in a lavish wedding, a testament to their shared abundance. Both families, extensive and exuberant, celebrated fervently for several days, basking in the joyous union. Initially apprehensive of familial clashes, Matteo feared discord among their fiery relatives. However, to his relief, any past disagreements seemed forgotten amidst the jubilant festivities. Yet, post-honeymoon, an inexplicable discord tainted their otherwise harmonious marriage. While their parents refrained from pressuring them about starting a family, hints of their desire lingered unspoken. However, months passed without the arrival of grandchildren, as Isabel struggled to conceive. Initially, Matteo kept his discontent concealed, attributing the delay to various plausible factors. Despite sparing no expense on medical consultations, doctors assured them of their good health, suggesting work-related stress as a potential impediment to conception. In response, Matteo intensified his efforts to cherish Isabel, whisking her away on romantic escapades, lavishing her with gifts, and orchestrating serene vacations. Under his attentive care, Isabel flourished, drawing admiration and envy from colleagues and acquaintances alike. Yet, despite their outward displays of affection, murmurs began to circulate among Matteo's colleagues and their spouses, casting aspersions on Isabel's perceived extravagance and infertility. Initially dismissive, Matteo found himself gradually succumbing to the insidious whispers, allowing doubt to seep into his thoughts. However, one day, Isabel arrived at his workplace beaming with radiant joy, a sight that eclipsed any doubts or whispers that had plagued Matteo's mind. "Matteo, I have wonderful news, I'm pregnant," Isabel announced to her husband, unable to contain her excitement. Without waiting for privacy, she shared the joyous revelation. Whatever doubts had plagued Matteo's soul were instantly dispelled by this miraculous news. After years of trying, their prayers had been answered, and Isabel had bestowed upon him the most precious gift imaginable. Enthralled by the news, Matteo cast aside all lingering rumors and uncertainties. Once more, he swept Isabel into his arms, showering her with affection and gifts. Overjoyed, they transformed one of their rooms into a nursery, allowing Isabel free rein to choose decorations and colors to her heart's content. Their relation knew no bounds when a visit to the doctor revealed they were expecting twins. Matteo's ecstasy knew no bounds. The years of longing for children were finally rewarded, and the prospect of twins only enhanced their happiness. With a deep-seated desire for a large family, Matteo embraced the news with open arms, reveling in the prospect of raising a son and a daughter. Life with his beautiful wife was a blissful whirlwind of smiles, and Matteo found himself endlessly captivated by her presence. With the imminent arrival of their children, their long-awaited family would finally be whole. The nursery overflowed with preparations, boasting 2 cribs and an array of amenities that drew envy from visiting guests. The day Matteo brought Isabel and their twins home from the hospital, he felt as if he were floating on cloud 9. Despite the incomprehension of many of his peers, Matteo devoted himself wholeheartedly to his wife and children. He willingly shared the responsibilities typically shouldered by women, even incurring reproach from their own mothers. Yet, such criticisms mattered little to Matteo. His priority lay in ensuring Isabel's happiness and witnessing the smiles of their children. Returning home from work to a loving family brought him immense joy. Isabel, swiftly regaining her pre-pregnancy form, radiated beauty and vitality. However, less than a year had passed before whispers once again permeated the air, casting doubt upon their happiness. Allegations arose concerning the children's resemblance, Isabel's rapid recovery, and her continued allure, stirring unease within Matteo's heart. Every day at work, Matteo couldn't escape the whispers that swirled around him, no matter how quietly his colleagues tried to speak. How can he not see it? The children's curly hair doesn't match either of theirs, one colleague murmured. It's impossible to bounce back so quickly, another condemned, remarking on Isabel's rapid slimming. She's just trying to impress someone, yet another gossiped. With each passing day, Matteo's doubts grew. Were these gossipers onto something? Was Isabel not as straightforward as he believed? He began scrutinizing the children more closely. Indeed, their features didn't quite align with his or Isabel's. Their lighter skin, different eye shapes, and curly hair contrasted starkly with their parents' traits. As Matteo observed, he also noticed changes in Isabel. Though still tender and caring, she became increasingly secretive. Always carrying her phone, she would discreetly exit the room to take calls. One day, he accidentally overheard one of these conversations. "Every time he speaks, I get goosebumps," Isabel breathed out with a soft chuckle. "And when he takes off his shirt, oh God, what a man." These words troubled Matteo deeply as he pondered their implications. Once diligent about his fitness routine, Matteo had let it slide due to exhaustion from work. Now, he couldn't shake the feeling that Isabel was concealing something from him. Initially unsure of how to broach the subject, Matteo hesitated before mustering the courage to confront Isabel directly. "Isabel, are you hiding something from me?" he asked, his tone tinged with concern. Isabel responded with a reassuring smile, enveloping him in a hug. "Darling, I have nothing to hide," she insisted. But Matteo persisted, questioning her sudden habit of taking her phone everywhere. Isabel explained that she had become more responsible, citing Matteo's previous scolding for her tendency to misplace her phone. With the addition of their children, she found it practical to have it on hand to monitor them while they slept. As for her secluded phone calls, she assured him they were merely for privacy's sake, a habit born out of consideration for their conversations. "Do you really want to hear about diapers and onesies or the TV shows I chat with my mom and friends about after a long day at work? I understand that you're tired, even though you help me with our little angels in the evening. I'm the one on maternity leave now, and you should rest." Isabel's responses sounded reasonable, and Matteo accepted them, though suspicions lingered that they were just a cover for something else. Despite their conversation, doubts continued to gnaw at Matteo. Despite Isabel's habitual displays of attention and affection, he found himself growing somewhat distant from her. Too much of what Isabel did seemed suspicious to him. Then, new rumors surfaced about his wife at work. "I'm telling you for sure, I saw Isabel with some men, and they were hugging," whispered one of Matteo's female colleagues to another. "Right in front of everyone. Can you imagine? Oh my God, should we tell Matteo? He's such a good man." The other replied, "How do I even tell him, for God's sake? He'll call me a gossip. He loves that little flirt so much." Matteo refrained from informing his colleagues that he had overheard their conversation, but he mulled over the signs of potential infidelity he had observed in his wife's behavior. Over the following weeks, Matteo contemplated how to uncover the truth about his wife's actions. He treaded cautiously, avoiding seeking advice from friends or colleagues. Instead, he turned to the internet, where he found various strategies to catch Isabelle in the act. Reading accounts from individuals who had faced similar situations, he memorized potential methods for testing Isabelle's loyalty, gradually formulating a plan. Despite his fear of discovering a painful truth, Matteo resolved to proceed with his investigation. One method he considered was to write Isabelle a farewell letter and observe her reaction upon reading it. However, as he weighed his options, uncertainty clouded his mind. As Matteo sat down with a sheet of paper and a pen before him, he struggled to compose the farewell letter. Beautiful memories of their shared love flooded his mind, moments of joyous celebration and years of contentment together. Yet, translating these memories into words proved challenging. For a long time, Matteo wrestled with the task, repeatedly crumpling up failed attempts and starting anew. Eventually, he managed to gather his thoughts and craft a letter that struck a balance between sincerity and gentleness. Without explicitly mentioning his suspicions, he conveyed his feelings of detachment and the need for introspection. Matteo confessed that Isabelle's emotional distance had left him feeling the urge to retreat and reflect. Ending the letter with an affirmation of his enduring love, he sought to convey his genuine sentiments to his wife. As Matteo placed the carefully crafted letter in a prominent location, he harbored a mixture of hopes and fears. He wished, deep down, that the letter would prompt Isabelle to reflect on her actions, perhaps even repent for any wrongdoing. Yet, he also yearned for his suspicions to be unfounded, longing for a return to their normal, happy life, despite the unsettling traits he noticed in their children. Choosing a day when Isabelle was out with the twins, Matteo positioned himself in a wardrobe, hidden yet strategically placed to overhear conversations throughout the house. As he waited in tense anticipation, the rustle of paper and a prolonged silence signaled Isabelle's discovery of the letter. Matteo's heart raced as he listened intently, the silence stretching on until it was broken by the sound of the letter hitting the floor and Isabelle's quiet sobs. A flicker of relief crossed Matteo's mind, almost prompting a smile, but his hope was short-lived. As Isabelle retrieved her phone and dialed a number, her trembling voice whispered a man's name. Matteo's blood ran cold as he realized the gravity of the situation. Matteo couldn't believe his ears. Isabelle was cheating on him with Diego. As Isabelle sobbed, her voice barely audible, Matteo clenched his fists in disbelief. How could she betray him so treacherously? He had loved her, worshipped her, showered her with gifts, and done everything for her. But the shock didn't end there. Isabelle's next conversation revealed yet another man, Gabriel. Matteo's heart sank as he realized the extent of her infidelity. How could she manage affairs with two men simultaneously? As Isabelle confided in Gabriel about her troubles, Matteo's mind raced with confusion and hurt. Then, a third man, Pablo, entered the scene. Isabelle's whispered words pierced through Matteo like daggers. How could she carry on with three men behind his back? Each syllable seemed to drive another nail into Matteo's already shattered heart. As silence fell, Matteo pondered whether to emerge from his hiding place, grappling with the devastating revelation of his wife's betrayal. Matteo wrestled with conflicting emotions as he contemplated his next move. Should he confront Isabelle immediately or wait until one of her lovers showed up? The thought of calling his lawyer friend to initiate divorce proceedings crossed his mind, but curiosity compelled him to wait and gather evidence of her infidelity. The tension heightened as Isabelle's phone rang once more. This time, it was Raphael. Matteo felt another wave of shock wash over him, another man. Yet, this conversation seemed one-sided, with Isabelle remaining mostly silent, only sighing occasionally before hanging up. Forcing himself to remain calm and patient despite the raging anger within him, Matteo listened intently as a car pulled up to the house. Moments later, Isabelle threw herself into the arms of the person who entered, sobbing loudly. Though too far from the door to hear their conversation, Matteo's imagination filled in the blanks. His shock deepened as two more cars arrived. Now, there would be no avoiding the truth if all of Isabelle's lovers found out about each other. The situation had escalated beyond what Matteo could have imagined. Matteo strained to hear any signs of conflict as he approached the scene, but there was none. Instead, it appeared that all three men were collectively comforting Isabelle in her distress. Confusion gnawed at him as he whispered to himself, "What's going on there?" Unable to delay any longer, Matteo emerged from his hiding place, ready to confront his wife and her alleged lovers. However, as he approached, his indignation and rehearsed words faltered. Before him stood three of his friends, with whom he had lost touch due to their relocation. The only unfamiliar figure was the men embracing Isabel. Matteo's mind raced as he realized that two of his friends, Gabriel and Diego, bore a striking resemblance to the twins. The truth dawned on him, sending shockwaves through his being. All 5 pairs of eyes turned to him, a mixture of confusion and anger reflected in their gazes. Summoning every ounce of composure, Matteo pushed aside his bewilderment and assumed a facade of anger. "I'm the one who has to explain. How dare you all? I'm the victim of my wife's." The words caught in his throat as he grappled with the sudden revelation and the implications it held. Matteo's accusations reverberated through the room, leaving Isabel stunned by his words. "Yes, indeed. Don't deny it. You cheated on me, and with whom? With my own friends. That's why the children don't resemble me. Everyone who warned me was right," he ranted, unleashing years of pent-up frustration and suspicion. The people before him stood speechless, their eyes widened in disbelief as Matteo continued his tirade, fueled by the rumors he had heard for years. Isabel, seemingly finding her voice first, responded with composure, a tone that once impressed Matteo for its ability to diffuse tension. But this time, he heard it with a different understanding. "Have you lost your mind, amigo?" Gabriel exclaimed, incredulous. "And you haven't? Cheating on your own wife with Isabel and now trying to blame me?" Matteo shouted in response, his anger rising. "What are you talking about? Where did you get such nonsense in your head?" Raphael snapped back, his confusion evident. Amidst the chaos, a voice interjected. "Beauty, is this your husband?" The man embracing Isabel posed the question, his tone laced with mockery. "Is this the man you've been boasting about? He's quite average, I must say, sweetheart. I wonder why I bothered bringing beauty to a goddess like you for this." Matteo frowned, noticing Pablo's peculiar mannerisms. Isabel shook her head, attempting to intervene. "Listen to me, sweetheart," Pablo began, adopting an elegant gesture. "As a stylist who knows a thing or two about life, okay. If your man is only looking for the bad in you, he'll find it no matter how hard you try." He waved his hand dismissively. "You may shine like gold, but if he thinks you smell of manure, that's what you'll be to him." Matteo's indignation flared as he demanded, "Who are you, damn it?" Pablo, unfazed, introduced himself. "My name's Pablo, darling, but rest assured, I won't encroach on you even if you pour a bottle of tequila over me." With a flourish, he continued, "Isabel always described you as a handsome man with a pure heart, but I see right through you, sweetheart." Gabriel, meeting Matteo's gaze, grimly gritted his teeth. "So, you lied to Isabel?" Matteo retorted. "I didn't lie. I was testing her. She's cheating on me." "Are you an idiot?" Diego shook his head in disbelief. Isabel stepped forward, holding Pablo back. "Enough," she declared. "I understand everything now. It was pointless gathering you for the alumni reunion. It was pointless trying to surprise Matteo, he had already made up his mind long ago." With a resigned sigh, she turned to Matteo. "Well, Matto, it's good." Matteo's voice reverberated with frustration as he exclaimed, "that I took the kids to my mother's. They won't hear this. Don't you dare use the kids as an excuse. They clearly aren't mine if they're curly-haired. They don't even resemble me." Isabel's demeanor shifted, her once affectionate gaze now stern and resolute. "Oh, so that's it. The kids aren't yours, and your wife's cheating, and you refuse to listen." Her words stung, directed squarely at Matteo. "What's there to listen to, your empty excuses?" Matteo retorted, his patience wearing thin. Diego, visibly disgusted, spat at his friend's feet, while Isabel stood tall, her pride unyielding. "Maybe you'll listen to the truth. Can you explain why the kids don't look like me? And what about your grandfather? You don't like the curls, do you? Your grandfather had curly hair, and even before my pregnancy, you sighed, saying how nice it would be if the kids had curls like your grandfather." Isabel's words struck a nerve with Matteo, who struggled to grasp the situation. "And the man my colleague saw you with, you were hugging him, darling," he accused, a tinge of desperation in his voice. "That's just how we greet each other," Pablo interjected, his tone dripping with disdain. "We're good friends. I have a husband of my own. Your woman means nothing to me." Isabel's gaze remained unwavering as she waited for Matteo's response, while Pablo, nonchalant, continued to inspect his nails. You were talking to someone about a man for a few moments, Isabel pondered, and Matteo thought he finally caught her. Are you talking about last Wednesday? Isabel raised an eyebrow. When Anna and I were discussing the new episode of our favorite soap opera. Oh, Alejandro, Pablo sighed dramatically beside Isabel. What a man. Such shoulders, he added, drawing a chuckle from Raphael, who shook his head in disbelief. Covering his face with his palm, he muttered, Matteo, you're really an idiot. You're looking for a catch where there isn't one. But Matteo began to gasp with indignation. We were trying to surprise you. Isabel interjected, crossing her arms defensively. With your vile act, you turned it all into some nightmare. I wanted to gather our friends for a reunion, surprise you with the arrival of Raphael, Gabriel, and Diego. Pablo volunteered to help me find a dress and beautify, and you're only thinking about how to accuse me of infidelity. Silence fell again, heavy with tension, as Isabel shook her head and headed for her purse, making her way to the exit. Pablo, be a dear, take me to Mom's, Isabel requested, to which her stylist nodded in agreement. Giving Matteo a displeased look, Pablo followed her out. Matteo wanted to follow, but his three friends stopped him. For the next few hours, he heard a lot about himself from his friends. They didn't hold back. Tears of guilt and regret streamed down Matteo's face as his friends showed him evidence of their conversations with Isabel, where they discussed the upcoming reunion. He couldn't believe he had single-handedly destroyed his beautiful life with Isabel because of mere rumors and speculations from people who knew nothing about his life. For the first 2 days, Isabel didn't even pick up his calls. But on the third day, Matteo went to her mother's house with a huge bouquet of flowers and knelt at the door. Forgive me, he pleaded, looking up at her. Fool, not a man, fool, Isabel's mother chimed in, echoing Matteo's thoughts. Matteo agreed with his mother-in-law, feeling like a complete fool. Forgive me, Isabel, he repeated. Isabel sighed heavily, her angry eyes softening. Do you realize you could have lost me because of rumors? Because you believed others instead of the person closest to you. Matteo could no longer speak, only nodding. No matter how many times I tell you, you've listened to your heart, not the words of strangers, Isabel continued, kneeling before him and setting aside the bouquet. I never wanted to betray you, dear. Because you are the most wonderful man, kind, romantic, loving. Just sometimes, foolish. He couldn't reply as Isabel kissed him on the lips, and Matteo realized she had forgiven him. Now, he just had to make amends to her and forgive himself for being so insecure that he began to doubt the faithfulness of his wife. To our dear viewers, if you enjoyed the story, please support the video by liking it and leaving a comment. Thank you very much.